Troops and civilians were killed when an explosion tore through a van at an army checkpoint in the southern Philippines, as authorities warned the blast could be linked to a wider plot by Islamic militants. The powerful explosion happened after soldiers and pro-government militia troops stopped the vehicle and tried to search it just after dawn on the outskirts of Lamitan. One soldier, 5 militia troops, and 4 civilians were killed. The van driver, a suspected member of the Abu Sayyaf militant group, also died.
The report that we have received, yung impact area niya reached about 50 meters. So napakalakas nitong bombang ito, itong mga IED na ito, at we cannot just imagine how this the tragedy that this will bring to the people o Basilan kung ito ay hindi natin nahinto sa ating checkpoint.
He added that government forces had been on heightened alert after receiving reports that the extremists planned to plant improvised explosives in areas around the island.
DIP Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Carlito Galvez Jr. commends the vigilance and dedication to duty and the sacrifices of these gallant men. They have foiled an attempt to bring in a vehicle loaded with IEDs to downtown Lamitan City at the cost of their own lives. While we commend our troops,
Basilan is a stronghold of the notorious Abu Sayyaf kidnap for ransom group. It is one of several armed groups fighting government forces in the southern Philippines, where a decades-long rebellion has claimed more than 100,000 lives by government count.
This group of Furuji Indama is losing ground, swiftly losing ground. That's why they are now resorting to these desperate moves in order to disrupt the mass surrenders of Abu Sayyaf members in Basilan and in Sulu.
Roderick Forigay, the Lamitan vice mayor, speculated that the explosives could have been intended for a parade on Tuesday morning by 4,000 children in the center of the town to mark the country's Nutrition Month. President Duterte recently signed a law to create greater autonomy in the South, which is hoped to help end the conflict. Duterte put the southern Philippines, including Basilan, under martial rule until the end of this year, after Abu Sayyaf members based on the island joined pro-Islamic militants or pro-Islamic state groups or pro-Islamic militant state groups who seized the southern city of Marawi last year. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque condemned the Basilan attack, describing it a war crime apparently intended against civilians.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms the latest terrorist attack in Basilan perpetrated in violation of our laws. We note that even in times of war, the attack constitutes a war crime because it constitutes an indiscriminate attack, which is prohibited by Article 4C1, attacks on civilian, by RA 9851, IHL Act of 2009.
The Philippines has expressed concern to China over an increasing number of Chinese radio messages warning Philippine aircraft and ships to stay away from newly fortified islands and other territories in the South China Sea. A Philippine government report showed that in the second half of last year alone, Philippine military aircraft received such Chinese radio warnings at least 46 times while patrolling near artificial islands built by China in the South China Sea's Spratly Archipelago. A Philippine Air Force plane on patrol received a particularly offensive radio message in late January, saying he was warned by Chinese forces that it was, quote, endangering the security of the Chinese reef. Leave immediately and keep off to avoid misunderstanding. Shortly afterwards, the plane received a veiled threat saying, Philippine military aircraft, I am warning you again, leave immediately or you will pay the possible consequences. A Filipino pilot later cited two flare warning signals from the reef, said the report, which identified the Chinese-occupied island as Gavin Reef. It's a new problem that emerged after China transformed 7 disputed reefs into islands using dredged sands in the Spratlys, where the new islands now stand in close proximity to islands occupied by Vietnam, the Philippines and Taiwan. Malaysia and Brunei are the other claimants. The Washington Post reported that U.S. intelligence agencies have found that North Korea is building new missiles based on satellite photographs taken in recent weeks and other new evidence. The Post said imagery from the National Geospatial or Spatial Intelligence Agency suggests ongoing work on at least one Hwasong-15 ICBM at the Sanumdong plant. But at the Sohae satellite launching station on North Korea's west coast, workers can be seen dismantling an engine test stand in line with the promise made to Trump at the summit, though the move is seen as more symbolic since the facility can easily be rebuilt. An image taken on July 7 shows a bright red covered trailer in a loading area that appears to be identical to those vehicles the North has previously used to transport ICBMs. The findings are the latest to show ongoing activity inside North Korea's nuclear and missile facilities at a time when the country's leaders are engaged in arms talks with the United States. And new intelligence does not suggest an expansion of North Korea's capabilities, but shows that work on advanced weapons is continuing weeks after President Trump declared in a Twitter posting that Pyongyang was no longer a nuclear threat. More than 500 hikers and their guides have been successfully evacuated from an Indonesian volcano after a deadly earthquake triggered landslides that trapped them on the mountain.
Wisatawan mancanegara sampai tadi malam kita sudah data semua. Jadi sampai dengan hari ini tidak ada lagi wisata asing. Jadi tinggal wisatawan lokal saja. Data tadi malam itu WNA-nya 189, lokalnya 173, guide-nya 31, porternya 150. Jadi jumlah keseluruhan yang kita data kemarin itu 543.
Tons of rocks and mud were dislodged on Mount Rinjani in the 6.4 magnitude quake, which struck early Sunday and was followed by scores of aftershocks, blocking the hiking routes that crisscross the mountain. Some 560 trekkers were originally thought to have been stranded, including citizens from the United States, France, the Netherlands, Thailand, and Germany, as well as many other countries. Hikers were able to start climbing down on Monday after guides discovered an alternate route that was unaffected by the landslides. Gusti Lanang Wiswananda, a spokesman for Mataram Search and Rescue Agency, said one Indonesian hiker died on the mountain and a 30-person rescue team was escorting the 6 remaining trekkers down from Lake Segara Anak near Rinjani summit. The least 16 people were killed in the earthquake across affected areas of Lombok, while hundreds of buildings were destroyed, including a health clinic. The head of Malaysia's Civil Aviation Regulatory resigned after an official report found failing in air traffic control when flight MH370 disappeared. In a long-awaited report released on Monday, the official investigation team pointed to numerous lapses by air traffic controllers in both Malaysia and Vietnam. These included failing to initiate emergency phases as required after the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, with 239 people on board, vanished from radar displays. Azaruddin Abdul Rahman, Director General of the Department of Civil Aviation, said the report had found that the air traffic control did not comply with standard operating procedures. Therefore, it is with regret and after much thought and contemplation that I have decided to resign as the Chairman of Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, effective 14 days from the date of the resignation notice, which I have served today, he said in a statement. Flight MH370 vanished over 4 years ago and remains aviation's greatest mystery. The disappearance of the Boeing 777-200 triggered the largest hunt in aviation history, but no sign of it was found in a 120,000 square kilometer Indian Ocean search zone. In a 495-page report, investigators said they still do not know why the plane vanished. A fugitive spy was jailed for 9 years in Vietnam on Monday for divulging state secrets after he tried to flee to Europe holding a forged passport in a rare case involving a high-ranking intelligence officer. The runaway spy Phan Van An Vu was arrested in Singapore in January with 2 passports, 1 fake, 1 real, and swiftly deported back to Vietnam. His lawyer said he was trying to reach Germany to offer information on a former Vietnamese oil executive who was kidnapped from Berlin last year and smuggled back to Vietnam to face corruption charges. Vietnam has not elaborated on the state secrets Vu apparently disclosed or to whom, but the Cold War style case has gripped a nation unused to seeing the powerful toppled in public. Vu, working as a high-rolling property developer and secret spy at the time of his arrest, was convicted after a 1-day closed-door trial in Hanoi that AFP was barred from attending. Vu was jailed for 9 years, while 2 former intelligence officers were also convicted for deliberately divulging state secrets, according to the government's website. U.S. President Donald Trump receives Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte on a Monday, welcoming to the White House a European populist with like-minded views on immigration and trade. Watch this.
I wish to thank you, President Trump, for this kind invitation, for this warm hospitality, only 2 months after the formation of my government. I take it as a sign of the special attention to Italy and to me as well. Sia il G7 sia la NATO abbiamo avuto un proficuo scambio di vedute, di opinioni, di posizioni.
I agree very much what you're doing with respect to migration and illegal immigration and even illegal immigration. Italy's taken a very firm stance on the border, a stance that few countries have taken, and frankly you're doing the right thing in my opinion, and a lot of other countries in Europe should be doing it also. So I just want to thank you, Giuseppe, for being with us. It's an honor. We have a lot to talk about having to do with trade, having to do with our military. You're ordering planes, lots of planes. The United States has a very large deficit, as usual, with Italy, about $31 billion, and I'm sure we'll straighten that out pretty quickly.
Conte has taken a very firm stance on immigration, said Trump, who has pursued a zero-tolerance policy at the U.S. border, a crackdown that led to hundreds of children being separated from parents who crossed into the country from Mexico without papers. U.S. President Donald Trump said he was willing to meet with Iran's leaders with no preconditions and anytime they want, 1 week after tensions soared between Washington and Tehran.
I would certainly meet with Iran if they wanted to meet. I don't know that they're ready yet. They're having a hard time right now. But I ended the Iran deal. It was a ridiculous deal. I do believe that they will probably end up wanting to meet, and I'm ready to meet anytime they want to.
A week ago, after a provocative warning from Iranian President Hassan Rouhani not to play with the lion's tail, Trump blasted back a reply on Twitter in all caps. Never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences, the likes of which few throughout history have ever suffered before, Trump warned Rouhani. Zimbabwe's two rival presidential candidates, Nelson Chamisa and Emerson Mnangagwa, both claim they are heading for victory as votes are counted in the country's first election since longtime ruler Robert Mugabe was ousted from power. President Emerson Mnangagwa said that his ruling ZANU-PF party was receiving extremely positive data on the count, while the opposition leader Nelson Chamisa said his MDC party was winning resoundingly. Zimbabwe appeared to be heading for a contest result in the historic election, raising the likelihood of a bitter battle over allegations of fraud and malpractice from both sides. Chamisa 40, who raised allegations of voter fraud repeatedly during the campaign, said that his MDC, or Movement for Democracy Change, party had results from most of the more than 10,000 polling stations. ZANU-PF has helped an iron grip on power in Zimbabwe since independence from British colonial rule in 1980. The victory for the opposition would be a major upset. Iglesia ni Cristo members in Malaysia celebrate the 104th anniversary of the church. Reporting from Kuala Lumpur, here's Rose Victoria.
The Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ reached its 104th anniversary, established in Philippine government since July 27, 1914, which also marks the 50th year of its foreign mission in Honolulu, Hawaii. Here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, we will also witness the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo commemorating its 104th anniversary, establishment in the Philippines, and 50th anniversary in the West with a musical presentation. The Iglesia ni Cristo around the world commemorates the triumph and victories of the Church. Likewise, the young and mature members of Iglesia ni Cristo in Kuala Lumpur are actively participating and fully prepared to showcase their musical performances in solo and group. Everyone filled with joy as they celebrated the victories and the grand stature of the church.
Ang distrito po ng Southeast Asia 2 ay nakikigalak, nakikisaya at kadamdamin po ng ating tagapamahalang pangkalahatan sa ginagawa po nating pagdiriwang ngayon ng ika-104th anniversary ng Iglesia ni Cristo at ika-50th anniversary in the West.
Really happy to be here today. Really quite surprised, really. I didn't know we had these many people in the locale of Kuala Lumpur. Seen some really great talent today. I'm not anywhere close to that, but really having a good time and I hope everybody else is too, but really nice. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
基督教会Iglesia Cristo 第104年周年快乐及西方教区第50年快乐。
Selamat ulang tahun 100 keempat kepada seluruh warga Iglesia Cristo dalam dunia. Terima kasih.
From the Ecclesiastical District of Southeast Asia to
Members from the locals of Kuala Lumpur, Bangsar, and Subang Jaya all converge for a celebration in songs and thanksgiving. From Eagle News Service in Kuala Lumpur, this is Rose Victoria, and I am one with 25.
Going now to Florida, as part of the 104th year anniversary and its 50th year mission in the West, the Iglesia Ni Cristo sponsors outreach event worldwide. In Florida, a mobile home community benefits from the INC's Aid for Humanity. Here's Jay Rosquites for the report.
Did you know that Florida has more mobile homes over any other state in the USA? With about 820,000 mobile homes, it's no wonder that Florida is the so-called retirement state. However, not all mobile homes are inhabited by retirees. Many Floridians have occupied them due to lower income or have become poverty-stricken. For some medically ill and injury-ridden residents, they have been granted government assistance. But because of the small support, they looked elsewhere.
I'm not real thrilled with the government.
Yeah.
I was a nurse's aide there, but then I went to school here and did respiratory therapy. And then I got hurt, so 7 back surgeries later, I didn't do anything, you know. I was on disability.
The worldwide religious organization, the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, has reached out to the residents in Florida by launching the Aid to Humanity project, which aims to assist those in need. And here in St. Petersburg, the local INC congregations made their presence known. The mobile park community of Park Haven has benefited from the Aid to Humanity.
They like reaching out to people, and you know, they're willing to help people more than anything. You know, whatever you're going through, they've probably already been through it, or might be going through it in later events. But otherwise, they're very caring. They care for each individual.
The INC volunteers were able to give free health checkups, free food parcels, and entertainment.
They came here, of all places, they chose our park. So it's kind of special that they would choose us. Yes, I understand they're only across the street or so, but still, it benefits us as residents here. And I think it's a very good thing that they're able to give away, offer food, and a church service at the same time.
Reporting from St. Petersburg, Florida, I'm Jay Rosquites, always one with 25.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Health is our most important.
to the garden. A world that brings you back to that natural, carefree feeling of joy and happiness. A place where art becomes your song to strengthen bonds. Creating your moments, kindling your passion. Worth reliving over and over. A world that recaptures the value of life. Breathe. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Health is our most
Nintendo said its quarterly net profit jumped 43.9% to $275 million, driven by the global popularity of its Switch consoles and game titles. The Kyoto-based game giant said its net profit for the 3 months to June reached 30.6 billion yen, or that's $275 million, with operating profit soaring 88.4% to 30.5 billion yen, and sales of up to 9.1% to 168.16 billion yen. For the year to March, it maintained its optimistic annual targets, expecting a net profit of 165 billion yen and an operating profit of 225 billion yen on sales of 1.2 trillion yen. Samsung Electronics report a 0.1% dip in its second quarter net profit from a year earlier, blaming slower global sales of premium smartphones that dented demand for its flagship Galaxy device. Net profit for the April to June period came in at 11.04 trillion won, or that's $9.9 billion, slightly lower than the 11.05 trillion won in the same period in 2017, the company said in a regulatory filing. An average of estimates compiled by Bloomberg News had forecast 11.6 trillion won for the period. Total sales fell 4.1% year-on-year, with the company's consumer electronics and mobile businesses suffering. The world's biggest maker of memory chips and flagship subsidiary of South Korea's Samsung Group, the company has weathered a series of setbacks, including an embarrassing global recall of its Galaxy Note 7 smartphone due to exploding batteries in 2016. Adding to its troubles, its vice chairman Lee Jae-yong, a scion of Samsung's founding family, was jailed last year for his part in the sprawling corruption scandal that brought down former President Park Geun-hye. Lee has since been released after some of his convictions were quashed on appeal, and the company has posted record profits in recent quarters. Banking giant Standard Chartered said pre-tax profits were up 34% in the first half of the year in a sign restructuring and cutbacks were supporting a recovery at the lender. Results in the 6 months to June showed statutory pre-tax profits of $2.35 billion, up from $1.75 billion year on year, as the London-based bank continues its recovery from a string of bad debts and misconduct fines. As China-U.S. trade tensions rise, Chairman Jose Viñals said Standard Chartered's exposure to U.S.-China trade was limited and that he expected the bank to benefit from any subsequent increase in commerce between China and other countries in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. The report comes as the bank remains under U.S. scrutiny for previous violations of U.S. sanctions. It announced last week that a deferred prosecution agreement, or DPA, reached with U.S. authorities in 2012 would be extended until the end of 2018, as the bank was yet to reach standards required by the DPA. In 2017, the bank paid $667 million to settle charges it had violated U.S. sanctions by handling thousands of financial transactions involving Iran, Myanmar, Libya, and Sudan. In August 2014, the bank was hit by U.S. regulators with a $300 million fine and restrictions on its dollar clearing business for failing to detect possible money laundering. Economic growth in the Eurozone slowed in the second quarter this year. Official data showed on Tuesday amid rising concerns that global trade tensions fueled by Washington may be reigning in the European economy. Growth in the 19-country single currency bloc hit the 0.3% in the April to June period, below the 0.4% in the previous quarter, the EU's Eurostat statistics agency said. Eurozone inflation, meanwhile, accelerated in July to 2.1%, driven by high energy prices. This was slightly faster than forecasts by analysts. More news will be coming your way when Eagle News International returns. Thousands of firefighters in California battled several large-scale blazes that have turned close to 200,000 acres into an ashen wasteland. Watch this. A young boy pleaded for rescue before he died along with two others in a California wildfire. An anguished relative recounted Monday while other shaken survivors told of their flight from the tornado fire. Thousands of firefighters in California made some progress against several large-scale blazes. The worst blaze, Northern California's Carr Fire, has killed 6 people since Thursday, including a 70-year-old woman and her 2 great-grandchildren, aged 4 and 5. They perished when flames swallowed their home in Redding. Local media identified the victims as Melody Bledsoe, and the children Emily Roberts and James Roberts, nicknamed Junior. I talked to Junior on the phone till he died, Melody's husband Ed Bledsoe told CNN, recounting the last words of the boy, his sister, and Bledsoe's wife. He said, "Come and get me. The fire's coming in the back door. Come on, Grandpa," Bledsoe said, his voice choking. But he couldn't get there in time to say that. NASA's footage from telescopes of the blood moon as the longest eclipse of the century begins. Watch this. We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG.
Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Sabi, rated SPG, maselan.
Ipitan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami po ospital na napuntahan, pero wala rin nangyayari. Somebody introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated. After 2 treatments, gumanda ang pakiramdam ko.
My friends introduced me Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, and luckily, I got cured. So I sincerely want to thank the doctors of Manila-Beijing Medical Associated.
For the past 30 years, ang dami ko lang na-take na mga gamot. Nothing happened to me. So until one my friend introduced me to Manila-Beijing Medical Associated, you know what? All my illness was cured.
For any health problems or incurable diseases, you can visit Manila-Beijing Medical.
Iglesia ni Cristo members in Singapore commemorated the 104th anniversary in Singapore with a musical evangelical mission. Our ABC correspondent in Southeast Asia, Ganesha Valera, reports from Singapore.
We are here at the Gateway Theatre Singapore to witness the Iglesia ni Cristo musical presentation in commemoration of their church 50 years in the West and 104th anniversary of its re-emergence in the Philippines. Gateway Theatre is a multi-theatre venue located in Bukit Merah Central, Singapore. It is equipped with an LED wall and an array of visual, audio, and lighting systems, with a series of gardens that serve as pre-function areas. Members of Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ in Singapore gathered here today to join in celebration of the anniversary of the church and its extension to the West, specifically in the United States of America. This event is called One Flock and One Shepherd, God's Promises Fulfilled, was organized by the Christian Family Organization, an organization for the married, adult, and youth members of the church.
The Church of Christ, or the Iglesia ni Cristo, conducted this musical presentation to celebrate the 104th anniversary of the establishment of the Church of Christ in the Philippines, and also the 50 years of its mission in the West. And most of all, the reason why we are conducting this kind of celebration is to honor and glorify our Lord God, who blessed the church.
Christian Family Organization took 2 months in conceptualization, preparation, and rehearsals for this event. The musical presentation includes song numbers, dance, and choral performances. They also prepared short film inspired on how the church established in the West and continues to grow.
Ang ganito pong mga aktibidad na kung saan ay nagtanghal po ang ating mga kapatid sa pamamagitan po ng isang musical presentation ay naipakita po sa mga kabataang Iglesia ni Cristo kung paano po tinupad ng Diyos ang kanyang pangako. Kaya tayo po ay punong-puno ng kagalakan at napakasarap po sa pakiramdam na sa pamamagitan ng ganung mga pagkakataon na ipapakita po ang kasaysayan ng Iglesia at kung paano po tinupad ng Diyos ang kanyang pangako sa kanyang bayan.
A musical presentation further strengthens the faith of Iglesia ni Cristo members and shown their unity all over the world. All the participants and members are grateful to be part of this historical event of their church in celebration of its anniversary and its 50th year since it reached its mission in the West. Reporting from Gateway Theatre, Singapore, this is Ganesha Valera, IM1 with 25.
Thank you, Ganesha. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us. And I'm Juan with 25.